Every night, he fell asleep facing away from me, while I lay awake wondering if he even loved me anymore. Then one day, someone else made me laugh, a laugh I had forgotten I had. It started with small conversations, then lingering touches, then a connection I couldn't ignore. My husband didn't notice until one evening. He reached for me and I pulled away. "What's wrong?" he asked. I met his eyes and whispered, "I stopped waiting for you." His breath hitched, and that's when he knew someone else had taken his place. Every night, he fell asleep facing away from me. At first, I thought it was nothing. People have different sleeping habits, right? But then I noticed how he'd shift just enough to turn his back to me, like it was intentional. Like he couldn't even stand to look at me before closing his eyes. I would lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he even loved me anymore. I wondered if I should ask, but what was I even supposed to say? "Hey, why do you turn away from me every night?" It sounded ridiculous in my head, like I was being dramatic. So, I let it go. I let a lot of things go. The way he stopped holding my hand when we walked down the street. The way he barely looked up from his phone when I talked. The way our conversations became nothing but schedules and responsibilities, what time he'd be home, what bills needed to be paid, who was taking the car for maintenance. I missed him, even when he was right next to me. And I hated that I had no idea how to fix it. Then one day, someone else made me laugh. It caught me off guard, how easily it happened. It was just a stupid joke. Something small. Something I normally wouldn't even remember. But I laughed, really laughed, and I realized I couldn't remember the last time I did that. Not with my husband. Not with anyone. That was the first crack. It didn't feel dangerous at the time. Just a moment of light in the dark. Then there were more. Small conversations. Lingering touches. A connection I couldn't ignore. And my husband didn't notice. Or maybe he just didn't care. The first time I lied to him, it felt small. I'm grabbing drinks with a friend after work. He didn't even ask which friend. He just nodded, distracted, like I had told him I was picking up milk on the way home. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I just felt nothing. I met Jake at a quiet bar across town, somewhere no one would recognize us. I sat across from him, fingers wrapped around a cold glass, and I waited for the guilt to sink in. It never did. Instead, I just felt warmth. His eyes, locked on mine. His full attention, something I hadn't felt in so long it almost made me want to cry. I don't remember who reached for who first. I just remember his fingers brushing mine, the way my breath caught in my throat, the way it felt like every nerve in my body came alive. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. And that terrified me more than anything else. It wasn't a switch that flipped overnight. It was slow, a steady unraveling. I still went home to my husband. I still cooked dinner, did laundry, made plans. I still kissed his cheek out of habit, even though his lips barely moved in response. But I was already gone. And he never noticed. That was the part that killed me. He never asked why I started dressing differently. Never asked why I smiled at my phone. Never asked why I came home just a little later every night. One evening, I stood in the kitchen, watching him scroll through his phone while I stirred a pot of pasta. I wondered what would happen if I just said it out loud. "Hey, I think I might be falling in love with someone else." Would he even hear me? Would he even care? Instead, I just said, "Dinner's ready." He nodded, not even looking up. The night everything changed, he reached for me in bed. It had been so long since he touched me first that for a second, I thought I imagined it. His fingers brushed my arm, hesitant. I pulled away. It wasn't a decision. Just instinct. I felt him freeze. Felt his breath hitch. And for the first time in what felt like years, he actually looked at me. "What's wrong?" I turned my head and met his eyes, and I knew this was it. The moment I had been waiting for. The moment he finally noticed. The moment it was already too late. I swallowed, throat tight. My voice barely above a whisper. "I stopped waiting for you." His face crumbled. And that's when he knew. His face went pale, like I had just told him something unspeakable. For a long second, he didn't say anything. Just stared at me, breathing unevenly, like he wasn't sure if he had actually heard me right. Then, slowly, he sat up. "What does that mean?" I didn't answer. I didn't know how. Because how do you explain something that happened so slowly, so quietly, that even I didn't realize it until I was too far gone? His fingers curled into the blanket. Are you seeing someone?" My heart pounded so hard I thought he could hear it. I could lie. I could say no. Maybe it would be easier if I did. But I didn't. "Yes." His breath caught. His whole body tensed, like I had just stabbed him in the chest. Then he laughed, short, sharp, humorless. "Wow," he whispered, shaking his head. "You're actually admitting it." Something about the way he said it made my stomach twist. Like he had suspected. Like he had already known. "How long?" His voice was eerily calm. I hesitated. "A while." He let out another bitter laugh, rubbing his hands over his face. When he looked at me again, there was something new in his eyes. Something dark. Who is it? My throat tightened. That doesn't matter. The hell it doesn't. His voice dropped lower. Who is it? I stayed quiet. He stood up so fast the bed frame groaned. Is it someone I know? I shook my head. It's not, is it Jake? My stomach dropped. The room spun. I felt like I had just been yanked out of my body. He knew. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I didn't need to say anything, though. The look on my face told him everything. His jaw clenched. He turned away from me, running both hands through his hair, pacing like he was trying to keep himself from breaking something. Oh my God, he muttered under his breath. Oh my God. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. How did you think I'm stupid? His head snapped toward me, eyes blazing. You think I haven't seen the way you look at your damn phone? You think I haven't noticed how you started working late all of a sudden? How you come home smelling like cologne that isn't mine? I flinched. I didn't realize it was that obvious. I wanted to believe it wasn't true, he said, his voice shaking. I wanted to believe I was just being paranoid. That you wouldn't do this to me. I had never seen him look so betrayed. Not angry. Not even devastated. Just hollow. Like something had been ripped out of him. I pressed my palms against my thighs, fighting the nausea crawling up my throat. I didn't mean for this to happen. He let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Oh yeah? And how exactly did it happen then? I swallowed hard. I was lonely. His nostrils flared. You were lonely? He took a step closer. You think I wasn't? I froze. Because I had never thought about that. Had he felt it too? The slow, creeping distance? The aching, invisible wall that had built itself between us? I had been so caught up in my own loneliness that I never once stopped to wonder if he felt it too. I was waiting for you, he said, voice breaking. I was waiting for you to notice how bad it had gotten. I was waiting for you to reach for me. I wanted to tell him I had been waiting for the same thing. But what was the point? I had stopped waiting. And now, so had he. Then his expression shifted. Something flickered behind his eyes, something I couldn't quite read. I had no idea what he was thinking. And that scared me. He took a slow breath, steadying himself. Then, something in his expression shifted, something calculating. You know what's funny? His voice was calm now. Too calm. Jake is married. I froze. I knew that. Of course I knew that. Jake had told me early on, in a hushed confession over drinks, that his marriage was just as hollow as mine. That his wife barely looked at him anymore. That he wasn't happy. But the way my husband said it, like he was holding something over me, sent a chill down my spine. You think his wife doesn't know? He let out a sharp breath, shaking his head. God, you're so naive. My fingers curled into the sheets. What are you talking about? He turned to his nightstand, yanked open the drawer, and pulled out his phone. With one swipe, he unlocked it, then turned the screen toward me. A text thread. I leaned forward, stomach twisting. It was Jake's wife. I scanned the messages, my pulse pounding. Jake's wife, I need to talk to you. I think something's going on with our spouses. My husband. Yeah. I think so too. My whole body turned to ice. I felt sick. Jake never told me she suspected. He never said anything. My husband was watching me, waiting for my reaction. I didn't tell her, he said, his voice almost gentle. Not yet. But she's smart. It's only a matter of time. I squeezed my hands together to stop them from shaking. Why? Why are you telling me this? He stared at me for a long moment. Then he sighed, running a hand down his face. Because you need to understand something. His voice was softer now, like he was exhausted. This? What you think you have with him? It's not real. The second his wife finds out, it's over. He'll throw you under the bus to save himself. He'll beg her to forgive him. And you? You'll be left with nothing. I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting. Because deep down, I knew he was right. Jake did love his wife in some way. Maybe not the way he used to, but enough that he still wore his wedding ring every day. Enough that he never promised me a future. He had never said we would end up together. I had just assumed. Are you gonna tell her? My voice was barely a whisper. My husband exhaled, shaking his head. No. I blinked. But she's gonna figure it out. And when she does. He paused, staring straight into my soul. She's gonna destroy you. A cold sweat broke out on my skin, because suddenly I wasn't sure who the real threat was anymore. Jake's wife. Or my husband. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured her, Jake's wife, sitting somewhere, staring at her phone, piecing it together. Did she check his texts while he was in the shower? Did she notice a sudden change in his routine? Did she recognize the same distance I had felt with my own husband? The thought of her finding out made my stomach turn. Not because I felt guilty, but because I knew what I would do in her position. I would ruin me. By morning, my husband was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a fresh cup of coffee like nothing had happened. I stood in the doorway, hesitating. I wanted to ask him what now? What happens next? But before I could speak, he glanced up and said, "You should end it." I stiffened. "You think you can keep this quiet, but you can't," he continued, taking a slow sip of coffee. "It's already unraveling." I hated that he was right. But I hated even more that it felt like a warning. Like if I didn't end it myself, he would. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. "And then what?" He set his cup down and leaned back in his chair. "Then we figure out what the hell we're gonna do with us." I felt my breath hitch. Us. I hadn't thought about us in a long time. But the way he said it, calm, measured, almost unreadable, made me realize something terrifying. My husband wasn't just hurt. He was planning something. And I had no idea what it was. I didn't end it with Jake. Not right away. I told myself I would, that I just needed a little more time, that I had to prepare myself for the fallout. But deep down, I was stalling. Because the truth was, I wasn't ready to let him go. So I kept lying. To Jake. To my husband. To myself. But lies don't stay hidden forever. And when everything fell apart, it wasn't slow. It was an explosion. It happened on a Friday night. My husband and I were supposed to go to dinner, his attempt at figuring out what we were gonna do with us. But right before we left, there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and there she was. Jake's wife. I had never met her before, but I knew it was her the second I saw her. She wasn't angry. She wasn't crying. She just stared at me with this eerie, knowing calm. My stomach dropped. Behind me, my husband exhaled. Like he had been expecting this. She glanced at him, then back at me. "So," she said quietly, "I guess we should talk." I felt like my entire body had been dunked in ice water. She knew. She had proof. I turned to my husband, expecting him to be just as shocked as I was, but he wasn't. He just crossed his arms, watching. Like this was a show he had been waiting for. Like he knew this was coming. Then she pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, turned it toward me, and my whole world collapsed. It was a screenshot. A text conversation. Between Jake and my husband. "Jake, she doesn't know I told you. Please, man, don't let this blow up. I just need time to fix things." My husband. "You're worried about fixing things with your wife? You should be worried about what I'm gonna do." I couldn't breathe. I looked at my husband. "How long have you been talking to him?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Jake's wife let out a slow, sharp breath. "Since last week," she said for him. "Your husband called mine. Gave him a chance to come clean. To break things off before it got worse." My whole body started to shake. "And what did Jake do?" She smiled, but there was no humor in it. "He lied. To both of us." I felt like I was going to throw up. "He told you he was gonna leave me, didn't he?" she continued, her voice like glass. "Told you I didn't love him anymore? That I didn't see him?" I couldn't move. Because yes, that was exactly what he had said. She tilted her head, like she was studying me. "You were never the first," she said softly. "Did you know that?" A shudder ran through me. I swallowed. "What?" Her eyes flickered to my husband. "Did he tell you?" My husband's jaw clenched. He looked away. And that was when I knew. I had been played. I had been so focused on my betrayal, my secret, that I never once stopped to think that maybe Jake had secrets of his own. "How long?" I whispered. Jake's wife exhaled sharply. 2 years. 2 damn years of catching him in half-truths and excuses. Of knowing something was wrong, but letting him manipulate me into thinking I was paranoid. My stomach turned. Jake had told me she was the distant one. That she had checked out first. But now, standing here, I wasn't so sure. I was starting to think I had only ever heard the version of the story that suited him best. She leaned in slightly. "Did he ever tell you he loved you?" I didn't answer. Because the truth was, he hadn't. Not once. She nodded, as if that confirmed something for her. "Yeah. Didn't think so." And suddenly, it hit me. Jake was never planning to leave her. He wasn't choosing me. He was choosing himself. Every single time. My husband finally spoke. "So," he said, voice tight. "What happens now?" Jake's wife looked at me for a long moment. Then she turned to my husband. "I don't know about you," she said, "but I'm done." And just like that, she turned and walked away. I watched her go, my heart hammering. I wanted to call out to her. To apologize. But what could I even say? She didn't owe me forgiveness. She didn't owe me anything. When she was gone, I turned to my husband, my throat tight. He met my gaze, unreadable. Then, softly, he said, "Are we done?" I inhaled sharply. I wanted to say no. I wanted to say we could fix this. But I knew better now. We had been over long before this night. Long before Jake. Long before we had even realized it ourselves. I closed my eyes for a moment. And then I said the words that I had been too afraid to say for so long. Yeah, we didn't yell. We didn't fight. We just sat there, staring at the walls of a life we had built together, knowing we had no idea what came next. It should have hurt more than it did. But maybe that was the real sign it was over. When we finally went to bed that night, we didn't touch. We just lay there, silent, breathing, waiting for morning. And this time, when he turned away from me, I didn't wonder if he still loved me. Because I already knew. And for the first time in years, I felt ready to move on.